Oh my God, folks. Brodie Lee, formerly known as Luke Harper, and Matt Hardy has made their debut on AEW. Oh my God. You knew this was going to happen. It was rumors for weeks that Brodie Lee was going to come on this edition of AEW. It had been rumored that Matt Hardy was going to come to AEW, but what a way it happened and what a fashion it did. And even though there wasn't a crowd, it was still amazing to see these two come. My God, this is going to be hella interesting of how this plays out. I mean, my goodness, the exotic one at first, the biggest rumor, there were three different options who the exotic one could have been on the Dark Order when Christopher Daniels told basically said Evil Uno that he had been lying to people, that he'd been saying that there was an exotic one, but there is an exotic one, that the exotic one doesn't exist. And then all of a sudden they pop the screen and then you see someone speaking, saying that he is the exotic one, and he pulls his hoodie off, and then it's Brodie Lee. I mean, my goodness, and you got to hope to wonder the fact that the situation that we're in right now, where there's no telling how long the wrestling, professional wrestling, any other sport is actually still doing events, how long they're going to be doing events with no crowd. So, I mean, it's not like you can wait forever for the crowd to come back to do something like this. And they did it in a really great fashion. I love how they had some AEW actual wrestlers like in the crowd where the crowd would normally sit. I like how they had them in that area, like chanting on to make it have some type of sound, to make it have some type of reaction, despite the fact that there was an actual crowd, that they really made this work tonight. And my goodness, when Brodie Lee popped up on the screen, I could just imagine if there were actual people there. I mean, I know that live, if anybody was watching this live, anybody was watching this at home, I know a bunch of people probably went crazy when Brodie Lee came out, but I could just imagine the reaction he would have gotten if there had been an actual crowd. But I really love what they did. My goodness. Brodie Lee has now entered AEW. He is the exotic one in the Dark Order, and it's going to be really interesting to see how they utilize him here with the Dark Order. It's the exotic one. What does that really mean? Is he going to be like the co-leader with Evil Uno? What does that mean? I mean, because it's not like Brodie Lee is wearing a mask. Everybody else in the Dark Order is wearing a mask, but Brodie Lee's the only guy in the group that's not wearing a mask. So what is he going to be, like the enforcer? Is he going to be a co-leader with Evil Uno that also has a lot of control over the group? Like, how is this going to play out? And that's the thing that I really want to see, because, my God, when I seen him come out, I knew it was coming. I knew that he was coming to AEW soon. He looks refreshed. It's kind of nice to not see him wearing, some of the raggedy stuff he used to wear, which I know was a part of his character. It's nice to see him wearing something more fresh. And you could just tell. I mean, normally, when Brodie Lee, aka Luke Harper, was in the WWE, he didn't talk that much. This is probably the most I've heard him speak. When he was in the Wyatts, Bray Wyatt did most of the talking, and him and Eric wouldn't talk as much. Bray Wyatt would mostly be doing most of the talking. But to see him actually speaking more and stuff like that, you can definitely tell that this is definitely a huge change in his character, a huge change in his direction. He looks fresh. He looks great. I always said when he was in the Wyatts that he was the most talented, in my opinion. Out of all three of them, of course, you had Bray was the leader at the time, but he was the guy that I always said was like the most talented. The guy who had like the craziest move set out of the three. He would do things like suicide dives and all types of stuff like that. I see he's still using the same finisher he used to use in WWE, which is this is clothesline. So he's still using that same finishing move. But it's going to be interesting to see how he functions here in AEW. I mean, he in WWE he won the tag team titles twice. Actually, yeah, I think he won it twice. I know he won it with Eric Rowan when they were the. Actually, no, he might have only won it once. He won it with Eric Rowan when they were the Bludgeon Brothers, when they reformed as dad, when they beat the New Day, and the Usos at WrestleMania 34 2 years ago. He won the Intercontinental Championship, which he only held for like a month because he won it on the episode of Raw to Dolph Ziggler around the time of the Authority and Cena storyline. That whole thing was going on. Then he lost the title like a month later, TLC to Dolph Ziggler. So, he had a couple of belts in WWE, but, he could have done a little bit better. But, it's interesting to see how he's going to do here in AEW. It was nice to see him come out. I mean, you knew it was going to happen. I thought they would have waited, but I understand that what can you really do? I mean, at a time like this, you got to do as much as you can. You have to get people at home to be invested, to get people at home to be really excited with the product. And that's exactly what they did. I mean, we're at a circumstance right now where this could last for a very long time. And, they don't know how long they'll be doing shows with empty crowds. But when you have a situation like this, you got to utilize it to your potential. And like I said, I like how they had people, some wrestlers like Sean Spears and MJF. All these guys is up in the crowd, just chanting on, making it seem like they're making themselves as the crowd. I really think that was unique how they did that in the situation that they're in, where there's no fans around that's actually there. But I could just imagine the reaction and the noises that Brodie Lee and Matt Hardy would have gotten if there was an actual crowd there. But again, they made it work, and it's nice to see Brodie Lee in AEW. I mean, I knew he was coming, just like I knew Matt Hardy was coming, because it said that once he became a free agent, once his contract expired from WWE on March 1st, that he was a free agent after that point. And from the video package that he posted after that, you kind of knew he was heading to AEW. And you know, it's funny because Matt Hardy's in AEW now, and his brother Jeff is still in WWE. And hope normally when people jump ship to AEW, uh, the beef between them coming back to WWE is not so great. But which probably explains why Jeff Hardy's finisher has been changed to Twisted Fury. They said it was a copyright thing with Matt, but then Matt basically denied that and said that he wouldn't do something like that against his brother. So it's obvious just a move that WWE would pull. But it's going to be interesting to see because he came out at the end of the show and basically Matt Jackson said they're not alone because Jericho thought they were going to be alone, that they weren't going to have a fifth member next week in Blood and Guts. They attacked Nick Jackson and they were down by 4, and then who comes out as Matt Hardy? I mean, that's still a good way for him to debut. I mean, he wasn't a part of the exotic team, even though that also directly fits his character. But for someone like Brody Lee, the things I've seen him do, this is, it's a perfect fit for him as well. So, it's going to be interesting to see moving forward what they do with Matt Hardy and AEW. It looks like he was still doing the elite stuff, so he does still have copy ownership to that, which he had to fight for when he was in Impact. He had to fight to get the rights to that because he's been battling a long time to get his rights for that. So it's not like the WWE can take that from him. He still has the rights to that. And it looks as though that's exactly what he was doing. So, it's going to be really interesting to see what he does, if he's going to basically insert himself as another member of Elite, if he's going to actually bring the broken gimmick to AEW, because that seems like that's what he was hinting at when he came out. Uh, you know, Definitely glad to see these two guys in AEW. Definitely it was a breath of fresh air. You knew it was going to happen, uh, and it did. It happened in a really cool fashion. Uh, you um, I'm sitting at home watching, and I made a big reaction just at home watching these guys come to AEW. So I'm pretty sure a bunch of people that were watching this also, were just sitting back and just had a heck of a reaction. Like, oh my goodness, like, they just had a heck of a reaction. Looking at looking at them coming out. Great, great reaction. I could just see it. They had a really people who watched this at home just had a massive reaction because I know I did. And it's definitely great to see these guys here. The main thing is that I just want to see moving forward. How will they be utilized? Um, what exactly will they do after this? How's Brody Lee? What exactly is his? What is his exact role in the Dark Order as the Exotic One? Like, what is the purpose? What is it that he's going to do here? And he looked great. He came and they attacked uh, Christopher Daniels. He hit him with that distance clothesline. He still, got that same type of finishing move. He looks great, man. So, and Luke Harper. I mean, my bad. Now, Brody Lee. Uh, he's almost 40, if not already 40. So, and, of course, obviously Matt Hardy's pushing. He's in his like mid 40s. So, definitely for guys like this that aren't particularly, you know, I wouldn't say that they're past their prime, but they're getting a little bit up there in age. They're still pretty good for what they are. And yeah, man, I definitely had to do a video about this. NXT, they just had like repackages, so uh, I love NXT, but for this particular one, I kind of only looked at certain glances of it because if it's a wrestling matches versus packages, I'm gonna obviously look at the wrestling matches because I just love wrestling. I'm not gonna debate over which company's better and stuff like that. I just love wrestling in general. If I could, I would watch all of them, but all the promotions, but it's just impossible for me to do that, obviously. But yeah, so that's pretty much it, guys. I just want to make a video here real quick about Matt Hardy and Brody Lee's debut in AEW. Definitely big debut. You knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. It was great. I was glad to see these guys in AEW. Now the step moving forward is what next? What next? I can't wait to see. Definitely this is going to be interesting how this plays out next week. It's making me even more invested than I already have been. It's kind of unfortunate because school kind of, when I'm in school, we kind of, especially before online class stuff, it kind of makes it a little bit harder for me to keep up. But yeah, um, definitely going to stay tuned with this because I definitely want to see the outcome of this. And yeah, so sign off, Master Flex. Like, comment, subscribe, stay safe, guys. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys.